We also have some updates for you when it comes to Elon Musk's lawsuit against OpenAI and its leaders. That is now going to the jury. Closing arguments concluded on Thursday in the case. This, of course, could have ramifications for the future of artificial intelligence. CNN's AI correspondent Hadas Gold explains.
After 3 weeks of testimony, this massive case between Elon Musk and ChatGPT maker OpenAI has finally rested. This case could completely change the landscape for AI if Elon Musk is successful. Elon Musk's attorneys spent their time of the closing argument trying to show that Musk was deceived after he helped fund and co-found OpenAI with $38 million because they argue that OpenAI ditched its nonprofit mission of creating a safe AI for the benefit of humanity in favor of profits, alleging that they breached a charitable trust, that the OpenAI executives unjustly enriched themselves to the tunes of billions of dollars, partly based off of the millions of dollars that Elon Musk gave to what was then a pure nonprofit. OpenAI, since its founding, has now transitioned to having a for-profit structure overseen by a nonprofit foundation. Musk's attorneys also spent time trying to paint OpenAI CEO Sam Altman as dishonest, as untrustworthy, pointing to the brief period of time in 2023 when he was ousted as CEO by the then board for what the board said was not being candid in his communications. Altman was reinstated a few days after his ousting, after almost all of the OpenAI employees threatened to resign. OpenAI's attorneys tried to argue that Elon Musk was just bringing this case because of essentially sour grapes. They said that he's bringing this case much too late. They pointed to statute of limitations. They say that Elon Musk himself wanted to create a for-profit entity when he was involved in OpenAI, but that he wanted to have full control of that for-profit entity to the point of him saying that he would pass that control along to his children if he were to die. That's something that Sam Altman testified to. They say that when Elon Musk was unsuccessful in gaining full control of OpenAI, he then left, trying to recruit OpenAI employees to Tesla, where he was working on AI there, and then eventually creating his own competitor, xAI. OpenAI saying that Elon Musk is just bringing this case to try to bring a competitor down. Now the jury will deliberate and they will bring their verdict to the judge. It's on an advisory verdict to the judge, who will make the ultimate decision. It will also be up to the judge on any remedies. Elon Musk is seeking very severe remedies in this case. They include that OpenAI would revert back to a nonprofit. That would completely scramble OpenAI's plans, including for an IPO. OpenAI is right now one of the most valuable companies in the world. He is also seeking that Sam Altman and Greg Brockman lose their jobs as the leaders of OpenAI, and he wants something like more than $130 billion to be put back in to the OpenAI nonprofit. But it's ultimately up to the judge in this case to decide what, if any, remedies Elon Musk will get. We don't know when that verdict will come, but we do expect it within the next week or so.
Bumble CEO says that people are just feeling exhausted about the constant swiping to find a match. So now they've announced that it is all getting an AI makeover and introducing a new AI assistant to act as matchmaker. CNN's Claire Duffy tracking this one and joining us now. An AI dating concierge. Tell me everything.
Well, Kate, this is coming against the backdrop, as you said, of people, especially Gen Z, having real dating and swiping fatigue, moving away from dating apps. In its most recent quarter, Bumble's revenue was down 14% year on year. So Bumble and many other dating apps are trying to change things up and add AI into their platforms. In many ways, AI has already been a part of dating apps. It is used to decide the algorithm for what matches will show up in your feed. Many dating apps also use AI for safety, to root out spammers and negative conversation. But Bumble is taking this to the next level. They are piloting an AI assistant called Bee, which at the start will have onboarding conversations with users, trying to get a better sense of what they're looking for, their communication style. And that will help decide what matches will show up in their feed that they can swipe on. But later this year, Bumble says, at least in some markets, it will be getting rid of the swipe altogether, and that Bee will potentially be setting you up directly with other matches. And in the future, it could also suggest and plan dates. Now, Whitney Wolfe Herd, the founder and CEO of Bumble, described it this way in a recent interview. She said, "There's a world where your dating concierge could go and date for you with other dating concierges, and then you don't have to talk to 600 people." And Kate, this might sound nice for people who are in the swiping trenches right now. I have a couple of questions. What happens when people don't have practice dealing with difficult other people, tough conversations? All of those things can be unpleasant as you're dating, but they also teach you how to deal with other people and how to show up well in your human relationships. And I also have a question about what happens if AI makes it easier to catfish people. Whitney Wolfe Herd was also asked about this in a recent interview. Take a listen to what she said.
So things we will not do, which I think is important for people to hear in the era of AI. We will not let you falsify who you are with AI. You cannot have falsified photos with AI. You cannot use AI to, message people. That we will not be leaning into AI as a replacement to human connection. Our goal is to leverage AI to make love and connection more human.
Claire Duffy, you are the bomb. This is lots of questions, lots of interesting things, but AI can just handle it.
But if the
human race is over, is what I took from
No, it's going to offer no more human connection.
If my dating concierge is talking to your dating concierge and said, how many people are on this date? What kind of relationship
let's just
is
put it
this?
this way. Our dating concierge would say, definitely not happening.
Not happening. Today we're going to take a look at the risks of this developing technology. Last month, you might remember, we looked at the chilling messages between Phoenix Eichner, the suspect in last year's shooting at Florida State University, and the AI chatbot, ChatGPT. For months, Eichner told the chatbot about his loneliness and his resentment. Later, when asked about weapons and violence, the chatbot failed to make any connections that a human might, that something might be wrong and authorities might need to be alerted. Instead, the chatbot explained to Eichner in detail how to disengage the safety on a gun and how the country would react to news of a mass shooting at FSU and when the school student union was busiest. And now the widow of Tiru Chaba, one of the two victims killed in the FSU shooting, is suing ChatGPT's maker, OpenAI, alleging that the chatbot inflamed and encouraged the accused shooter's delusions ahead of the attack. The lawsuit filed Sunday follows last month's criminal investigation by the Florida Attorney General into whether OpenAI bears criminal responsibility for the shooting. And here to discuss is the attorney representing Vandana Joshi, Jim Bannister. Jim, thanks so much for joining us. What does the Chaba family want to see come from this lawsuit?
Mr. Tapper, I'll tell you, Vanna is a very private person. She was very reluctant to get involved in anything that might put her name out there, but she got placed into this situation outside of her own control. Obviously, she would not want to be here if she could help it. So ultimately, her decision to pursue suit against ChatGPT, OpenAI, was based primarily on her decision that she wanted to make sure that if she could do something that would help change the way these algorithms work, ChatGPT works, and that might save some other mother from being put in the position that she's been in, then she was willing to trade a little bit of her privacy for trying to make a change going forward. So she's specifically looking for some changes in ChatGPT and how it operates with users.
So OpenAI, the argument you're going to face in court, they say that while the FSU shooting was, of course, a tragedy, ChatGPT is not responsible because what the chatbot provided for Eichner is information found broadly across the internet, that he could have gotten any of that same information from Google. What is your response in court going to be?
So I think that this is analogous to a products liability case. I mean, that's the way we've pled it. If you grew up here in South Carolina, where I'm from, for years and years, our highways did not have any dividers that ran between the lanes. And those dividers eventually were put in place because ultimately Highway Department realized that people were crossing over, hitting other oncoming traffic. There were guardrails that were put in place. That was despite the fact that the users of the vehicles that were driving down the highway, the Department of Transportation didn't have any responsibility necessarily for how they were driving the car. But they could foresee that crossover crashes would occur, and they put those guardrails in to prevent that. And that is something that would be, we believe, would be something that should have been in place, may have been in place to some extent, but just failed in this situation. I also think the question should be flipped around to say, what is unreasonable about the idea that ChatGPT shouldn't have some sort of guardrails or parameters that kick things out that seem to be dangerous or show an intent to commit a violent act? In fact, I asked ChatGPT today, what are 5 things that it could do to program itself in order to help prevent acts of violence in the future. And the response I got was an enhanced context understanding, which means understanding in a broader sense what was going on in the conversation, which in this case, if you are able to look at the entire chat back and forth, you can see where it is heading as it gets to that fateful day on April 17th of last year. There's user behavior learning that it suggested. There's safety auditing, sort of think like car crash tests that auto manufacturers use to see what's working and what's not, where it's testing itself to make sure that it is not potentially opening itself up to content that could lead to violent behavior.
Yeah. Last month, OpenAI announced the role of human reviewers who can assess flagged activity to determine whether authorities need to be notified. A similar thing happened in Canada. They ultimately didn't tell law enforcement, and there was an even worse shooting. Would that addition be sufficient?
Well, I think so. Let's start with the statement that ChatGPT came out with about that, and that is that they cut off that particular user in Canada who ended up being the shooter. So they were apologizing officially for not having notified law enforcement. So what we learned from that is that ChatGPT has the ability to figure out that certain users are engaging in conduct within their system that's inappropriate, could lead to violent behavior. I don't think that an alert system is, or how about even just a well check? There were moments in Eichner's chats where he was talking about suicide, long before he came to the conclusion that he was going to...
he asked if it was a sin.
Get a how-to instruction. How about an off-ramp there? How about a notification to law enforcement to go take a check on this guy? I mean, they know, with the technology that we have today, with geofencing and other things, they know where you are, at least roughly, and can pinpoint a location if necessary.
AI, proving to be helpful in so many aspects of our lives. But if you are thinking about turning to AI for financial advice, you may want to think again. Experts are out with a new warning about uploading personal information and how it can open you up to some serious trouble. CNN's Claire Duffy has new reporting on this. She's here with us now. Claire, what are you learning?
Well, it makes sense, right, that people are asking AI for financial advice. People are asking it for all kinds of advice.
Everything.
And in some ways, this could really democratize access to this kind of information. Not everybody can afford to pay a human financial planner. But it is very important that you do this carefully. In particular, experts say it is very important that you do not upload sensitive personal information to AI chatbots. So whether that is redacting your financial documents before you upload them to ask AI about them, or even better, just taking the relevant information minus your personal sensitive details and adding that to a prompt for AI. But the key here is do not upload information like your name, your birth date, account numbers, transaction dates. All of that could be at risk of getting leaked or being used for AI's training data, which could then be hacked by trained, hackers, actors, putting in malicious prompts, trying to access that training information from the AI chatbots. Also important to check the AI tool's privacy and data retention policy so you understand how the information that you're uploading might be used. Those can change periodically, so it's good to regularly check those. And if you're asking AI for financial advice, you can actually prompt it to give you regular privacy reminders so that you don't get wrapped up in the conversation and forget about this. Our colleague Jean Sahadi talked to Rachel Toback. She's the CEO of Social Proof Security. She put it this way. She said, people are trusting AI tools like they're a trusted fiduciary, but your trusted fiduciary is required to work in your best interest, whereas a large cloud-based AI service provider is often creating their policies based on what is in their own best interest and not yours. And Kate, it's also important to remember that this shouldn't be your single source of truth. These AI tools can still make mistakes, and they'll also give different people different answers. So you and I could give it the same exact prompt asking how to invest $1,000. It might give you really good advice. It might give me a completely different answer. So important to ask other sources, whether that is elsewhere, trusted sources on the internet, or human professionals.
And what is the scope of how much this is happening? I mean, a threat and a concern for sure, but are we seeing already this this is becoming an issue?
There are absolutely people who are using AI tools in this way. We're also seeing, popular figures encouraging people to use AI in this way. Again, in some ways it makes sense because this is a new way to access important information and get advice, but very important that you do it carefully if you do it.
Doing it the right way is what, all of us are needing to learn how to handle AI and the chatbots.
And this goes really for any kind of personal information, health information, other types of sensitive details. You don't want to be giving those to AI chatbots.
Really good reminder, Claire. Thank you so much.